Today we have an absolute disaster class to share when it comes to AI and a marketing campaign that went completely wrong when it comes to AI, when it comes to Heineken as well, which is a huge brand. And we're going to kind of dive deep into it today so we can see what we can learn from this disaster class when it comes to driving, succeeding, and growing our coaching business as well. So let's dive into it because there's some real big gems as well in terms of things that actually backfired, but backfired in a good way and allowed them to grow as well. So I'll share my screen and I'll give you a quick breakdown. So just as a summary, this AI tool or this AI wearable is like a necklace, and you wear it, you talk into it. So if you can see on my screen, you talk into this little AI tool, and whenever you feel lonely, whenever you feel anxious, you just basically talk to it like a friend. And it will kind of coach you through big struggles, big life dilemmas, and stuff like that as well. So it's just more to combat loneliness. So that's the idea anyway. That's what it was designed to do. What happened is Heineken paired together, so they created this necklace that effectively allowed you to do two things, which is really interesting within itself. It sounds like an absolute disaster class already. It's this wearable, you talk into it, but they paired with Heineken, so it also serves as a can opener. To me, without looking into it, anything else at all, I think it's an absolute disaster class if you're pairing up AI technology with alcohol. So like what I mean by that is if you are marketing this thing to be helping with loneliness, with anxiety, with stress, and you just have someone to talk to, I don't think it's a good angle to pair like mental health and those sort of things with alcohol and beer in a can opener, right? That's just my 2 cents. So I think one small thing already we can see is like the stuff you talk about, and this is one thing I actually see a lot in coaching businesses as well that I consult for and help with, right? I think there's a time and place to be super open to share everything within your business and everything that's going on within your life, all for that. However, one big mistake I do see coaches make is just sharing too much and just sharing stuff that don't necessarily combat or don't really help the drive and success from a coaching business perspective, right? So if you are coaching like anyone, if you're coaching fitness, it probably doesn't logically make sense for you to be talking about how stressed you are, how anxious you are right now, this very second, and how you went off track with your nutrition and your training, and because of that, you're now feeling stressed and anxious and motivated, right? It makes sense as to why you probably wouldn't want to talk about this exact story in this exact second. What you might want to do instead is talk about a previous time you struggled with stress, anxiety, like life got busy, and because of that, here's what you did and here's what you learned from that lesson. It's a much better perspective if you are going to talk about these things that are causing you stress, anxiety, and all of these things. If you're going to talk about them as, I had this struggle, but here's how I overcame it. And one big thing we want to nail with our marketing, with our lead generation, is only really talk about problems that you've already kind of solved for the most part. Is a really good kind of thing to keep in mind. If you're going for like different problems at different times, obviously there may be a time and place, but generally we want to be this kind of shining light and this kind of positive figure in people's life on social media, especially when there's so much negativity. If we can only really talk about problems we've already solved or we're working on solving, it'll be far better, because that'll create inspiration, motivation. It'll be easier to actually have buying conversations. What I did the mistake as a young 17-year-old wannabe personal trainer, one mistake I made within my business is always talking about the negatives in my life. Like, you know, I struggled with this, I struggled with that, I'm struggling with this, but here's why this is so good. And what was happening is like, I didn't learn this quickly enough when I was 17. But what was happening is like, I was talking about these negative things in my life. That was skyrocketing the engagement on my content because people are feeling sorry for me. They're like, oh, I need to show Plymouth some sympathy. They were giving me lots of likes, lots of comments, lots of engagement. I was like thinking to myself, okay, this must be good, so I'll keep doing more. And before I realized it, before I knew it, one of my mentors called me out at the time. Before I knew it, what ended up happening is I was talking about these negative things like all the time, and people weren't really seeing me as an expert, as authority, so they didn't really think or feel like I can coach them, even though my content was getting lots of engagement. So one core lesson. I've devoted a little bit, but one core lesson we can take from this ad in particular, and there's two, so I'll dive into the second one. But one is like, just because something can be said, and just because something can be created as a content or as a post or a social media angle, it doesn't necessarily mean it should be, right? This is super, super important here. So just be very conscious, like what's the offer, what's the journey you're taking the people you want to help with, what is the journey you're taking them on. Once you have this journey very clearly defined and mapped out, the second thing you want to do is like think to yourself, like, most of your content right now, does it connect the dots that you're helping people on this journey? If it doesn't, you might not want to post it, or might want to be more selective with you posting it, right? That's the first lesson. Let's dive back into my screen share and I'll run you through the second one as well. So as you can see here as well, like the other side of things as well that I've seen with this AI tool is like, it got a lot of backlash in terms of people commenting on the negatives on here. So as you can see in this screen share, like a lot of people billboarding this and saying it's not a good thing that you have this, and it's not really there to help you in terms of AI. And like, there's been videos and there's been case studies of AI not necessarily being the most helpful thing in the world in terms of like having our best interest in mind. So that's why people seem to have a big fuss about it. And I think this is really, really important. It's like why it backfires so much, but I think this is really, really important human psychology lesson and human conversation like lesson we can all take as coaches and as fitness coaches, professionals. At the moment, there's distrust, and like, I can't blame people for having distrust towards AI, towards not really wanting to consult with it and share their big lessons and their big struggles and their big issues with it. So if that's the case, do we really want to be creating a ton of fitness content talking about how amazing AI is and how it's helping you coach clients, or how it's helping you do your check-ins for your clients? Like, I've seen that a couple of times. I'm just going to share my thoughts. I think one of the biggest reasons people are buying online coaching and fitness coaching is for two reasons. One is because they want to achieve a specific they want to achieve a specific outcome. So they're currently fat, for example, or they're currently overweight. They want to get to be lean and healthy and fit. That's one reason they want to sign up. But the biggest reason is because they want to achieve the outcome. But the second biggest reason they sign up to especially high ticket coaching programs like fitness coaching and one-to-one fitness coaching is because they see the probability of success to be super high. AI, for the most part, can devalue a one-to-one fitness coaching program and can devalue the perception of how good your coaching is, because they think, okay, if I sign up to this fitness coach, I'm not going to get one-to-one access to him. I'm just going to speak to a chatbot. If you're always talking about AI in your content and how good it is for your fitness offer. That's the first issue. The second issue as well is they think, okay, if this guy's using AI to coach his clients or do the check-ins or systemize this and ChatGPT this and ChatGPT that, then what's the perception? Like I can just go off and just go on ChatGPT and do it myself, right? So that's why I think it's very selective as one-to-one coaches and consultants and fitness guys, right? To be quite selective with how we're talking about AI within our content. I see it more so in guys, to be honest, in terms of like new guys, like new coaches that book these sales calls. When I audit their social media, they'll talk about AI occasionally, like maybe 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6. They'll talk about AI or ChatGPT. Just be quite selective with it. I think for the most part, one of the best angles you can have with AI in a coaching business right now to avoid this backlash is to do two things. One is just to use it for content ideas, to get your ideas to help scripting, to give you different variations of hooks, of emails, of copy, or videos to film. But then on the front end, you don't really have to talk about how much you use in AI, because I think that can create more distrust in a coaching offer. It makes it harder for people to want to sign up, right? that's my personal sense on this. And also as a byproduct, the last thing is like, because more coaches are leaning on AI and calorie calculators and all of this stuff, you being more personable in your content, you just, showcasing who you are, what you believe in, being the inspiration, the motivation in your characters, in the people you want to work with in their life, the easier and the more simple it'll be for you to sign them up to your coaching program as well. That's the two big things we learn. And obviously this ad, this creative, this marketing's had millions and kind of geniuses work on this creative, and it's clearly backlashed, right? So one big thing here as well is just, don't be afraid of failure. Try different things out, and you learn quite quickly what works and what people want and what people don't want to see in content. But if they can make mistakes like this without thinking about, maybe it shouldn't be good to pair loneliness and anxiety, like that service, with alcohol, like what could possibly go wrong if we market that? So if they can make mistakes along that lines, then don't be afraid to test different stuff. Don't be afraid to post more content, to try different kind of ideas. Like if you talk about nutrition in a certain way, in a trending topic, or react to certain videos, don't be afraid to try it, because the worst case for most fitness businesses is it's just not going to get as much engagement, and they can try again the next time, right? There's a few big lessons we can take from this. If you found this type of content useful, make sure to hit like so I know to post more. And if you're new here, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos where I literally help grow your coaching business through one-to-one conversations like this. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.